So, this guy wants to be governor. Reps the 6th District here. John Rose joining the program. And, man, I appreciate you coming on today. It's pretty exciting when I heard from people the other day. I said, you know what? Yeah, I'd love to have him on because, I've talked to some people, but as we get closer, as everybody starts to throw their hat in the ring, I'm like, all right, let's find out what everybody's about. And you're the one who's kind of been out there first and foremost going for this thing. So let's talk about it, John.
Well, Chad, thanks for having me on the Chad Benson Show today. Always a pleasure to join you and join the station, and so I appreciate that. You're right. I'm actually the only candidate in the race, and it's been that way now for 3+ months. And so I'm, a farmer, Christian, businessman, father, and a conservative outsider who is, offering myself to the people of Tennessee to be the next governor. Obviously serving currently in the U.S. House representing the 6th District, which has been a great honor and privilege. But we've been making our way across Tennessee, been to all 95 counties, and continue to meet Tennesseans, listening to what they want for the future of Tennessee.
So if somebody's just turning on and going, all right, well, I got to get our bearings, who are we going to vote for? Because I think a lot of people are waiting for Marcia. Marcia, is she or isn't she? I think that's a lot of people are waiting, but you jumped into it and you've got kind of this head start. If you want to introduce yourself and you've got like that elevator pitch, John, like what is it that you could say to the people, why you?
Well, I think Tennessee's in a great place, but we see Tennessee just growing exponentially, exploding. And if we want to keep Tennessee, the Tennessee that we all love and cherish, the values that we embrace, then we've got to have a leader for Tennessee who understands how to implement a vision, how to execute on a plan to keep Tennessee growing, but keep ourselves true to the values we have. And so while I've learned a lot as a legislator, the job of being a legislator is very different from the job of leading an organization. And so in my past, I've spent almost all my life up until the last 6 years starting and building small businesses, running organizations, and we were successful at that. I was successful at that, starting with just an idea, seeing a business blossom into a successful, entrepreneurial endeavor that created scores of jobs for Tennesseans right here in our state. And those are the skills that I think are needed in a governor. And Tennessee, I think, has identified that historically. If you think about most of our governors in my lifetime, they've come from a business background, and I think that's a testament to the judgment of Tennesseans that understand that while an effective legislator is a useful thing, what we need in an executive to lead our state is someone who's proven themselves capable of that. And so I've done that in the private sector, and I've done that in the government sector, very briefly serving as Tennessee's Commissioner of Agriculture 23 years ago. And so I think that is what equips me. Also, just the willingness to take on the job. This is not a retirement job. I'm not coming home so I can be close to family and friends and kick back. I'm coming home expecting this to be the toughest job I've ever had. And so I'm ready to roll up my sleeves. I would tell you that I think the combination of the upbringing, the values that my parents instilled in me, those Christian values, the conservative outlook that I have as an 8th-generation Tennessean, coupled with my education and training in Tennessee public schools and then following my business experience, I think they give me, and then finally my legislative experience, I think that gives me the combination of skills that will equip me to serve Tennessee capably and faithfully as the next governor.
Talking to Congressman John Rose, and now candidate Rose for governor. You look at Governor Lee, what are some of the things you think, man, I would have done something different? I would have maybe gone in this direction rather than that direction. What are some of the things that you think that, he's got his head in the right direction, but you're running for it not because you might want to keep it on the same path, but you're running also because you think you can do better.
Well, sure. I want to start off by saying I have the utmost respect for Bill Lee.
John,
I think
you don't have to say
governor
that, man. We're not that show. Man, you can blast him right here. We're cool with
that. But I want to be honest. We share some background, and so I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that I think he's served Tennessee well. there are some differences. I think I'm definitely conservative, and I'll let the voters decide and make comparisons. But I'm a conservative outsider. I think that's something to note, and yet I have a record from my legislative service that can, stand as a testament to those who wonder, how would I govern? They can look at my voting record, one of the most conservative of any member of Congress in Tennessee history, certainly of the current delegation. My record stacks up to any of them, and so we're going to come at this from the perspective that keeping government within its boundaries, letting the people be free to start businesses and live their lives, protecting, those principles that we as conservatives cherish and value. I will stand up proudly for the Second Amendment. I've already staked out the position that I will work to get concealed, not just stand up for concealed carry that we have today, but to make sure that we have constitutional carry as a principle that we defend here in Tennessee forthrightly. And so I certainly value all of our constitutional rights, but I see the Second Amendment as kind of the keystone that keeps, Americans free, and certainly Tennesseans. And so I think, we'll take on some of those challenges in a more robust way, perhaps. But again, I don't want that to be viewed as a criticism of Governor Lee, but rather, a testament to what I would see as the issues that I would want to pursue if the people of Tennessee choose me to be their next governor.
Talking to John Rose, Congressman, and wants to be the governor of the great state of Tennessee, and he is running, and he's the only one running so far. Are you surprised you're kind of really the only one for a few months? I mean, you've just been it. Are you surprised by that?
A little surprised. When I got in on March the 20th, it was not necessarily early by historic standards. Many of our successful candidates in the past for governor in Tennessee have gotten in earlier. We knew that we had to spread across the state, and I needed to meet a lot of people, so we wanted to get in as soon as we could get ourselves ready to do that. I did expect at that time that there would probably be other candidates get in the race, and we'd have to acknowledge that that still seems like that would be likely that would happen. But I will tell you now it's late. In the last two open gubernatorial cycles, the top two finishers, first and second place in Republican primaries, have already been in the race by this time, and I know as probably as painfully as anyone in the state, except for perhaps former candidates for statewide office, how difficult and ominous it is to create a statewide campaign organization. So we've been doing that, and what I can tell you is it's now late. As Yogi Berra would say, it's getting late early, and start. We're not going to slow down. If others get in, so be it, and we welcome them to the race. The water is warm, but it's deep, and so we're just going to keep doing our thing and communicating and learning about what Tennesseans want for the future of our state and spreading the message. We are in a good place. We just released yesterday our first half of the year financial report, and it shows that we have more resources than any candidate for governor in Tennessee history at this point. And so we're going to have the resources we need to run a successful campaign. We've assembled a great team. Chris Devaney is our campaign chairman, is kind of the defending champion quarterback, if you will. He ran the Lee campaign back in 2018, and so we're going to have all the players that we need to put together a successful campaign, and I think will lead us to success next August 6th.
Talking to John Rose, Congressman, of course, now candidate for governor of the great state of Tennessee. A lot of people are chiming in on the text line. I said, ask some questions that you guys want me to ask, and apparently we have a lot of stoners that listen to my show. Recreational marijuana. I think a lot of people looking out there going, look, there's a lot of conservatives out there, a lot of libertarians out there who vote right, but if you put it on the ballot, it's probably going to pass. And where do you stand on that? I mean, as an adult, and I'm telling you right now, Congressman, I am a teetotaler, never had a drink, never done a drug. I just think at some point in time, we need to be adults about some of this stuff.
Well, I share your position there. I am a teetotaler. I don't drink and have never taken drugs, and I do not favor legalization of marijuana. Everyone that I talk to who is an expert on this in the medical arena, in the law enforcement arena, say the same thing, that marijuana is, in fact, a gateway drug, and that we shouldn't legalize it because it will lead to greater drug use, and at the end of the day, leads to human suffering. Now, I understand there's some who testify, strongly that medical use of marijuana has benefited them, but we've certainly got the greatest pharmaceutical industry in the world here in the United States. If there are efficacious components of marijuana, they can be extracted and turned into medications, and we can not suffer the unintended consequences of drug use and encouragement of drug use in our country. And so I just couldn't favor legalization because of that, that observation that I've made and the testimony that I've received from so many Tennesseans and beyond Tennessee about the impact of legalization.
That whole gateway thing, shouldn't you say the same thing about alcohol? Because I've never met anybody who's done hard drugs who didn't start with alcohol.
Well, I understand your point, and I think that's probably one of those genies that's out of the bottle at this point, no pun intended. And so I think, my parents certainly, and I suspect yours as well, managed to convince me at a young age not to drink and that it would serve me better in the long run. And certainly it's kept me out of a lot of trouble. I'm sure of that. And so, I certainly, probably feel the way you are suggesting, but I think it's a bridge that we've crossed already. And we certainly see the suffering that comes from abuse of alcohol, and it's, the cost that we pay as a society for that. And so we should educate our young people to, if they're going to consume alcohol, to do so responsibly and not drink and drive, and understand the risk that they're taking in their lives and the particular, the potential human suffering that they may experience if they don't do so carefully.
Talking to John Rose, a congressman, and of course, candidate now for the great state of Tennessee to be the next governor. Somebody just texted in and said, "All right, can you fix the potholes?" Like, we had Afton on, and Afton's like, she wanted to do pot for potholes, and I thought that's a great idea because it's ridiculous. And several people have said, fix the potholes, because Lee didn't want to do it. And here we're building choo-choo trains instead of fixing the potholes here in Nashville. What can we do to fix the potholes? How can you make that the cornerstone of your campaign?
Well, I have already identified that as one of the top priorities, infrastructure, roads in particular. We took our eye off the ball 23 years ago in Tennessee. Up until that time, our roads had become rated among the best in the country. And so we all see that. Not only do we see a failure to properly maintain our roads and the potholes that you mentioned, but obviously anybody who travels the interstates in this state knows about the overcrowding, particularly around the Nashville area. And so we got to be very serious about that. It's not an easy problem to solve. It is an expensive problem. And so we've got to have a serious conversation as Tennesseans about how we marshal the resources that we have as a state and make sure that we direct them to solving the biggest problems. And certainly I would put transportation as one of those biggest problems. And so, we've seen the Lee administration take this on a number of different ways. I think it'll be a big challenge for the next governor. We all see the list of backlog of road projects. I think now some estimates as high as $30 to $40 billion in construction project backlogs that we have in Tennessee. And so that's a conversation I'm having as I travel across Tennessee. And I will tell you, it doesn't matter where you are in the 95 counties of Tennessee, that problem is understood and in focus for Tennesseans.
Absolutely. Can you stick around for one more? I want to ask you some big, beautiful bill. That thing's gross, but we'll talk. Can you stick around one more?
Absolutely. Yes. Be happy to.
Fantastic. That right there is John Rose, candidate to be governor. He's thrown his hat in the ring. He's been in there for a while. Of course, obviously, Congressman. We're going to talk to him about a couple other things, and we'll ask him the pertinent question about, our favorite condiment here. It is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
Water bottles linked to blindness, got a Ford recall, and the U.S. government's plan to fight a flesh-eating maggot, all coming up at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
My goodness, it's all happening. We're talking to Congressman John Rose, who has thrown his sombrero into the excitement that is the governor's race here in Tennessee. Let's talk about the congressional side of stuff. The one big, beautiful bill. Some of it I liked, man. I got to be honest with you. Some of it I thought was, we're spending a lot of money. A lot of the stuff out there I wasn't thrilled with, including the whole Palantir stuff, which really not a lot of people are talking about. But you seem to, I mean, you voted for this, but you like it?
Well, I think you start with the most obvious thing is the one big beautiful now law delivers the largest tax cut for working and middle class Americans in history. For a family of four in Tennessee, $11,700 annually in tax savings and benefits that they're going to receive. So, you know, that's a lot to wrap your head around. If we hadn't done this, to put it another way, next January 1st, we would have had the largest tax increase in American history. And consider that every Democrat in the Congress, House and Senate, voted for that by voting against the one big beautiful bill. And so I think that's the starting point. I think, though, the real key here is that or two things that I would observe, and there's a lot to talk about. The biggest tax or the biggest spending cuts also in American history. Is it enough? No. But it's a very good first start, and we get to do this two more times if we manage, if we manage Congress correctly. We can do reconciliation two more times. So I think it's a good first bite to get 1.7 trillion by some estimates in savings. And then the next observation I will make is that we need to supercharge the American economy. You know, if you look at the way this bill got scored, the Congressional Budget Office said that they're going to presume economic growth of just 1.8%, which is below the near-term average. And so, you know, we think that giving businesses and Americans this certainty about their future tax bills, the other provisions of this bill, are going to supercharge the American economy. And so you're going to see robust economic growth. And at the end of the day, that's how we get America out of the fix that we're in, is by growing the American economy, generating more prosperity to go around for everyone, and ultimately that will generate more revenue for government, help us get our deficits under control, eliminate them hopefully ultimately, and get America back on track. So I think this can be an American century, and I think it all starts with President Trump's one big beautiful law.
Well, I look at it, and look, there's some stuff in here I really like, but it doesn't matter if we continue to spend. I say this all the time. Everybody is great with a cut. They never want to cut the stuff that they like. And that's always my issue is at some point in time, we're going to have to go, either we're really going to get spending under control and not hope that everything goes perfect, or we're going to have to tighten our belts. And, you know, if we talk about the fact that we're worried about how big the debt is and the fact that it's becoming as big as all of our other entitlements just to pay down the interest on the debt, we got to figure something out, man.
Absolutely. So, you know, 37 trillion or so in debt at this point, and interest last year of $1 trillion, more than we spent on national defense. And that's unsustainable. And so that's why we do have to get this under control. I think the one big beautiful law gets us started in that direction. You're right. It's tough, and every American has a part in this. We have all got to make some sacrifices. We've all got to be willing to give up something. And so ultimately there's a lot of work to be done there. I don't want to misrepresent this to anyone. You know, the analogy is always used that changing the budgeting of the United States is like turning an aircraft carrier. You cannot do that on a dime, but you have to start. And we have now started. I mean, this is not prospective anymore. This is the law of the land. I got to be there at the White House with the president on July 4th to see him sign this into law. I was so proud to be there. And be a part of that and be a part of helping get this across the finish line. Again, it's not perfect. Nothing Congress is going to produce is going to be perfect. I'm sure we'll find some things that we didn't even realize. But that's, you know, you roll your sleeves up, you come back and you work on it again, and we're going to have the opportunity to do that. And I think the big note here, though, is the American people last November 5th gave us control of the federal government. They gave us all three important levers of power, and you see the president and the House and the Senate using those, fulfilling the promises the president made, including, and I say this for blue-collar workers that are listening, and I've visited with so many of them, you know, no tax on overtime, no tax on tips, a tax break for those who buy American-made cars. Imagine the impact that can have on the auto industry here domestically. And then for tax relief for seniors. Again, all of these things encouraging Americans to get off the sidelines. Even the savings that we've achieved with Medicaid and SNAP are going to encourage Americans who've frankly been sitting on the sidelines to get back into the game and to get productive And all of that is going to supercharge the American economy. And so I think we'll see very robust economic growth, and that will result in greater tax collections and more revenue that will help us to lower, hopefully, the deficits. Now, the problem in Washington, and I argue about this and debate this with some all the time who say, well, we should increase taxes. We don't have a tax problem in Washington. Revenues are up dramatically, both since 2017 with the little interruption there around COVID. So revenues are up dramatically. We've just insanely spent more money than we can take in, and so we've got to get that under control.
And you just raised the debt again, and I always look out 3 years. Like everybody goes, well, 10 years. 10 years doesn't mean anything. You know this. It's like baseball.
Absolutely.
When they give you those 10-year contracts. All you care about is the first 3 or 4 years. After that thing's a wash because you never know what's going to happen. But we have a spending problem. And I looked at this and said, why the rich get a tax break here? They don't need it. You know this, man. You got a few bucks in your pocket. I know you ain't poor. People don't. The average person would have benefited more from a bigger tax break than the wealthy, because the wealthy, they don't get paychecks like the average person. They've got all the opportunities and the lawyers to get around a lot of that stuff.
So actually, that's what this does. So those people earning $15,000 to $30,000 get a 23% cut in their taxes. Those earning $30,000 to $80,000 get a 15% cut. Obviously, the guys who make a lot of money, even though the tax implications for them is much smaller on a percentage basis, it adds up to more money. But for the lower end of the spectrum, the One Big Beautiful Law is actually delivering for working Americans. And, nothing underscores that more than no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. And every guy who's worked an hourly job, and I count myself as one of those who's done that, understand the impact, when you know that if you earn overtime, you're not going to have to pay taxes on that. That's a really big incentive to working Americans and more money in their pocket. And when I visit working folks all across the state, that's what I hear them saying. And so, I think we're delivering there. Obviously, some of the tax cuts go to small businesses and they make more money, if you will. But at the end of the day, they also create jobs, and that's what we want to happen. So the 199A deduction that lets small businesses pay the same tax rate or near the same tax rate as U.S. corporations, that's going to manifest all across this country with the guy who opens up a sandwich shop, the people who have a small businesses of some sort that they've started. And I did that once upon a time. I started a business. There were two of us. We did everything. We grew that business. And so, that's the people who we want to help. That's the way that we grow this U.S. economy and we make America great again. And I think the One Big Beautiful Law gives us a great start and certainty. And what I would stress to you, Chad, for business people, for Americans, knowing, and you talked about, what's happened 3 years or longer, the extensions to these tax cuts, the tax policy here, we give permanent fee to. And so people who are making longer term investment decisions know, hey, I can rely on this longer out, and so I can make bigger investments. And that's part of why this is going to, I think, contribute to a real, explosive growth for the U.S. economy. And I think that's part of the brilliance of this particular law is that by giving folks certainty, they can make plans for the future.
Right on, my man. Congressman Rose, and now candidate for governor of the great state of Tennessee. Appreciate you coming on today, and we'll talk to you again soon. We'll get you in here. Oh, one quick question. You got just which one do you like better? It's just one answer. Are you a Miracle Whip or a mayonnaise guy?
Man, that's tough. I don't like either one, but I'll say Miracle Whip, I guess.
Oh, sorry, man. I was going to give you my vote, but you know what? Maybe next time. Appreciate you coming on today. Thanks so much.
Well, if it's any consolation, I'm not a fan. That's the one thing that I most dislike on any sandwich I get. So,
thanks so much for coming on, and we'll look forward to getting you in the studio next time.
Thanks, Chad. It's a great honor and privilege to serve the people of Tennessee.
Thank you. Coming up, we'll talk a bit about this. Got a bunch of texts and stuff coming in. It is Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Oh, got some of your texts, but first, Ken, are you there? Can you hear me? Ken.
I'm here.
What's this crap about the water bottles? What? Kids were being stupid and their eyes got poked out. I can't think any other reason that would happen.
Well, apparently there have been two people hit in the face by the lid Whenever you go to open it, it just pops off of there. And 2 people apparently are blinded because of this. Now, these are 64-ounce stainless steel insulated water bottles made by Ozark Trail.
Okay.
And what they're saying is that if you have why you would put food in a water bottle, I don't know. But if you have put food in it, carbonated beverages or perishable beverages like juice or milk, and they're stored in this over time, then people have gone to open them up and bam, they're hit in the face with the lid. And 2 of these people have suffered permanent vision loss because.
Well, you know what? It's like the kids who do that, they go and they put, was it Coke and they put Mentos or something? Mentos, the fresh maker. So it blows up. People do stuff because they want to, it's the internet.
Yep.
Like, why are you putting food in there? You're right. That's an odd thing.
I mean, maybe soup. I guess soup. You could put soup in it, but yeah, if you go to grab your Ozark stainless steel water bottle, and there's something in that has been for some time, you might hold it away from you while you open.
Yeah, don't point it at your face is what we're saying.
But you actually need to take it back for a refund.
That's right. So bizarre. That's Ken.
Don't open it.
Take it back. Get your money back. Get something else, right? And we're not saying anything bad about the Ozarks, folks. We're just saying there's an issue. But they're sitting there saying the same thing. How did you blind yourself? What kind of food are you putting in there?
Yeah.
What kind?
It must have literally poked their eye out.
Yeah. That's what's the old
way to? I mean, that's terrible.
Yeah.
What a way for that to happen.
Yeah. It's like a 1 in a million kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, you'd rather win the lottery than lose your eye.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right, Ken right there, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of you texting in. A lot of you, by the way, Ken, I just want to let you know this, that a lot of our listeners seem to partake in the wacky tobacco.
Yeah.
Not happy about Congressman Rose's stand on it's a gateway drug. And I'm like, it's really, no, it's not.
It is a gateway drug. It's a gateway to my refrigerator and snack pantry.
Yeah, but I and the whole, like, his answer, and again, I didn't get to all the questions. A lot of people were asking questions. I wanted, in studio, and we're going to get him here as he gets closer to everything. Well, hopefully we get, Blackburn, if she throws her hat in. She's going to, that. And several of the others, in here who are running for things. But when he asked him, well, what about, realistically, the gateway drug is alcohol? And he's like, that's, the genie's out of the bottle.
Yeah.
What is that? What? I don't even. Of course, the genie's drunk and I can't get in the bottle anymore. As well as you guys know that. Yeah, alcohol is it. I mean, the weed though. I mean, we got a lot of good pharmaceuticals. That's the problem. Weed's not killing anyone. Nobody overdosed on weed and died, despite what Dan Patrick, the lieutenant governor, said.
Yeah.
Do you remember when he was throwing those things out to everybody? What do you think of this? And he threw it out. That brand now is using that as their selling thing. And some of the stuff, because he went on and the $11,000. I'm like, where do you get that number?
$11,000
savings for every Tennessee taxpayer.
For taxpayers. Yeah.
Even Marsha
Families
Blackburn's.
of 4.
It's $2,600 per household. That's the average. That's not 11,000. I don't know where that number came from. So, and I wanted to have, because, you're trying to get to as many questions and grill them a little bit closer. But I will say this, if you fix the potholes, anybody fixes those potholes, you may have my vote. I mean, how can you not? But some of this stuff, the gateway thing, I'm a teetotaler. I'd rather be hanging out. I mean, I don't like the smell of weed, but you know what? You can drink it now, right? You can have the gummies. It's just this whole thought process. Well, the minute you start smoking a little weed, next thing you know, you're shooting up and doing things in the park for money. And when I walk by the park over here, because I start to see a few tents over here by Roundabout Way. in that little park.
Roundabout way.
That's what I call it, roundabout, because all of the naked butts, they're always drinking. I don't see them doing any weed.
Right.
I'm just saying. It's, I don't know. So it was interesting. I mean, again, very nice guy. And they're always like, who could be the most conservative of all time? And didn't answer any of the Palantir stuff, which is what, I was curious about. Because if you guys don't know, go look at the One Big Beautiful Law. Palantir is setting us up for something that is going to be scary. They are going to have their hands in everything electronically. This is, everybody worries about the social credit system. That can't happen. Never say never. Go see the power that they're going to have. And see also how much money some of the Trump administration, Stephen Miller and a few, have in this. And when you know that the CIA is one of the investors early on in this company, I got some issues with that. I did. So we'll see. A lot of people here love cannabis. It's odd. How many of my listeners love the cannabis? THC has helped me quit drinking.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel that way, right? I mean, it'll
do that.
It's just
doesn't leave you with a hangover.
No.
You're not bent over, vomiting or anything like that. You're usually in your house.
Yeah. And like how many cops hit us up and said, I'd rather be in an area where people are high than a whole bunch of people are drunk. I mean, you get around people that are drunk, you know that there's some stuff that people are high. There's like, what's up? It's you're not throwing down. And if you are, it's very slow. It's just, that one kind of bugged me. And the potholes, though. You got to fix the potholes, man. Nobody seems to care.
You know who should be lobbying the hardest to get weed legalized across the board?
Who?
DoorDash and Uber Eats and all these guys.
They should. Yeah, a lot of people saying that. A THC helps me with my PTSD and sleep. And there's a lot of great pharmaceuticals. Why do you think we got a huge fentanyl problem? Because we have a huge Oxycontin problem.
And addiction.
And that addiction.
But that's the ridiculousness of it is we have pharmaceutical opioids. We have pharmaceutical cocaine. But pharmaceutical weed is a step too far.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because everything's a step too far for anybody until they lobby for you. And the problem with a lot of the weed is they don't have the lobbyist yet. You don't have the guys in the suits. You don't have the guys and gals in the suits and ties and the high-powered attorneys that look like, Attorney Barbie that is walking up and down the street up there in K Street and lobbying in the right way. You don't have that, and you need that. So, we're going to get him in here for an hour, and we'll have some other questions. Like I said, I tried to run through as many as possible, and I let people talk because the reality is fighting with somebody isn't going to get you the answers you want. You got to make that decision for yourself. And plus, we are limited on time. It's not like we had 2-hour podcast where we can just sit there and just BS. And he chose Miracle Whip. Oh, I expected better.
Well, that's just because he doesn't like either one.
Yeah, it's just true. Well, then, the dry sandwich, I never got into that. That's a weird thing, right? That's an odd thing. The dry sandwich.
I remember friends who would eat dry sandwiches. Just a piece of bologna in between some bread.
He didn't say he wasn't going to use some mustard or something like that, though.
Yeah.
He didn't say that. Well, we didn't ask him that.
No, but, and you're right. Maybe he likes mustard and something else. I don't know. What else is there? Relish?
Yeah.
Sriracha sauce, sir.
Sriracha. Everybody likes a sriracha.
Sriracha.
You know what, though, man? That could be the gateway drug. You never know, man. First, everything was cool. Then I took sriracha sauce. Next thing you know,
I was eating mayonnaise out of the jar.
That's it. It all happens that way, man. Coming up, let's have fun with a melon. What kind of melon? A super stupid, expensive melon. Plus, we got more of your text messages straight ahead. Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. The Japanese love expensive melons and fruits and nuts and all that kind of stuff. Case in point this.
This may look like an ordinary melon, but it isn't. How much does it cost? A whopping $400. This is where you'll find that high-priced melon at the Farm and Forage Market in the swanky Hamptons. The rare melons are bought at auction in Japan. What makes this melon so special?
Essentially, the farmer, instead of growing 6 or 7 melons on a vine, they'll cut the flower and they'll grow just one at a time. Basically what happens is that single melon is like the most sweet and the most juicy it possibly can be.
Ooh, yeah, they love themselves some melons. They love a lot. They've got all kinds of. They've got apples that go for ridiculous prices. My uncle buys a couple a year. He's like, I went buy one of those weird apples, and they were for like one. It's like, yeah, I got a couple. They were like, $100 for 2 or 3 of them. I'm like, what are you doing? What do they do to these things?
And that's on top of how expensive their beef is and tuna. They're paying millions of dollars for a single tuna.
It's crazy. You ever seen that? It's like, yeah, this blue tuna. And it's weird. Have you ever seen, so when they bring the tuna down, they stick this, it looks like a meat thermometer into it, and they take the meat, they take a little bit of it out, like they're doing a biopsy to see how pure it is. And that's crazy. But this, they cut it down to where it produces 1 or 2 melons. So all the juice and all that's whatever. But they've got grapes that will go from $100 to $10,000 like a bushel. What's in there? Heroin?
Who's buying that?
Stupid wealthy people that have nothing else, or people who want to show off on the internet. Right? That's like the Kobe beef. What's the other beef that's
Wagyu.
Wagyu. And the different ratings for the Wagyu. Did you get it whatever?
And before World War II, this was a society that was actively doing surgeries on Chinese people with no anesthesia.
Yeah. Well, now,
intentionally to torture them.
Yeah. They did a lot of things. I mean, go look at the rape of Nanking and that stuff. It's just, but I look at this and they have the same thing with all of these, like lettuce. They have certain lettuce that cost ungodly amount of money. And I'm trying to think, what? Is it going to taste good with my ranch dressing? I mean, it's crazy. It is. It's nuts that you would spend that. And like you said, who buys it? I don't even know if billionaires, you know what? Because that's like a lot of people, billionaires go out and they throw maybe for a big party, but not for sitting at home. People who want to look cool on the internet probably buy this stuff.
By the way, that grape right there, that's $1,000.
The $1,000 grape.
What do you think about that?
It's pretty nice. What's it taste like? Cotton candy. Have you seen those? You ever seen cotton candy grapes?
No.
They have those. You know what those are? Gross. I had a grape earlier, but it was called a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, and it was delicious.
Well, did you pick that yourself?
I did.
Off the tree?
Picked it right up at the convenience store over here. It was awesome. Fantastic. Coming up, hour number 3 of the program. We got a lot of stuff still to try to get to. Some more birthright citizenship. Some of your texts about Congressman Rose, who wants to be governor, and he's kind of the only one that's in there. And apparently, he's raised more than a few bucks. So we'll talk a little bit more because a lot of you are still chiming in about the weed. A few of you are trying
weed, man.
It's all weed. Trying to tell me it is a gateway drug, Chad. You don't understand how kind of gateway drug. Okay. I don't buy it, but we'll go with that. And a bunch of other stuff going on, man. There's so much stuff happening out there, including. Speaking of expense, wait till you hear what a handbag went for. Woo! Chad Benson Show.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? It's insane. That's all you need to know. It is Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 997.